All right, I'm Sergeant Ostrander. I'll be giving a short speech on drugs in Afghanistan. So as you can see on the board right here, Afghanistan now produces over 90% of the opium grown in the world, according to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. The money from the Afghan drug trade is fueling violence and corruption in Afghanistan, but also throughout Central Asia. It is a persistent threat both to the stability of the Afghan government and also to the U.S. goal of removing the Taliban as a power in this region. First, I'm going to talk about how drug money funds the Taliban. Second, I'll talk about how drug money is fueling corruption within the Afghan government. And finally, I'll talk about how drug addiction is rising within the country of Afghanistan itself. The information that I'm sharing comes primarily from 3 online newspapers, the Christian Science Monitor, McClatchy newspapers, and the New York Times. All statistics are from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, otherwise known as the UNODC. The opium grown within Afghanistan is worth more than $3 to $4 billion per year. The Taliban extort money from the people who are either growing or transporting this drug. That earns them somewhere between $70 to $400 million per year, also according to the UNODC. This is not the only source of the Taliban's funding, but it is the largest amount. The Taliban are not the only people who are profiting from the drug trade in Afghanistan. Many Afghan government officials are involved in the drug trade either directly or indirectly. Most notably, the brother of Afghan's president, Hamid Karzai, has been connected with the drug trade by numerous U.S. and Afghan sources. Reporting by McClatchy newspapers indicates that local police often extort money from poppy growers in exchange for exempting some of their fields from eradication efforts. When asked about the opium trade, a poppy farmer living south of Kandahar admits, quote, "Most of the government officials are involved," unquote. The problems caused by drugs in Afghanistan are not limited to politics alone. Out of a population of 35 million people, it's estimated that 1 million Afghans are now addicted to drugs in some form, according to the UNODC. Drug usage increases both petty and serious crime. A drug addict in Kabul admits, quote, "Most of us steal to get by," unquote. Aid agencies report that drug addiction is the fastest growing social problem within Afghanistan, according to the Christian Science Monitor. In conclusion, I discussed how drug money funds the Taliban. I then talked about how drug money is fueling corruption within the Afghan government, and finally how drug addiction is on the rise throughout Afghanistan. In order to prevent the Taliban from taking over Afghanistan, the Afghan government must provide for its citizens and build a stable environment. If the Taliban and local warlords are able to continue to profit from the drug trade, they will remain outside the Afghan government's control. The Afghan government will not be able to be secure and stable as long as these groups have the funding that they need to effectively resist the government's control. Corruption within the government will not be reduced as long as the money that is fueling that corruption continues to flow. Afghan society is threatened by rising rates of addiction. For peace and real stability in Afghanistan to be achieved, a holistic solution must be pursued. Such a solution includes a drastic reduction in the drug trade. Go ahead and pan once more.